There is a particular kind of power that does not announce itself. It does not arrive with fanfare or demand recognition. It simply accumulates, quietly and deliberately, until one day the people around it realize they have been living inside its architecture for years without ever noticing when the walls went up. That is the kind of power Queen Camilla has built inside the British royal family. And in 2026, that power is turning heads in ways that even her most seasoned observers did not fully anticipate. To understand where Camilla stands today, you have to understand where she came from. For most of the 1990s, she was the most controversial woman in Britain. The public blamed her for the collapse of one of the most watched marriages in history. Protesters lined streets. Newspapers ran campaigns of relentless hostility. When Diana, Princess of Wales, died in Paris in August 1997, the grief of a nation curdled into something sharp and directed, and Camilla felt the full weight of it. There were genuine questions about whether she would ever be accepted, let alone celebrated. And yet here she is, Queen Consort of the United Kingdom, walking through Sandringham in the crisp January air, standing beside a king who calls her his essential companion. The transformation did not happen by accident. It happened because Camilla Parker Bowles understood something that very few people in the history of the British monarchy have grasped so completely, that survival inside this institution is not a matter of popularity. It is a matter of patience, positioning, and an almost preternatural ability to endure. The rehabilitation of her public image was a long, carefully managed process. Following Diana's death, Camilla and Charles did not rush anything. Their public relations approach was methodical, almost clinical. Staged appearances were timed for maximum normalcy. Leaks to sympathetic press outlets painted her as a warm, unpretentious woman who simply loved a man. Gradually, the anger softened. By the time she and Charles married in April 2005, a significant portion of the British public had moved from hostility to reluctant tolerance. By the time Charles ascended to the throne in September 2022, she was Queen Consort. The arc of that journey remains one of the most remarkable image rehabilitations in modern British public life. But what is striking about Camilla's position in 2026 is that her role has evolved far beyond public relations management. She is no longer simply working to be accepted. She is shaping the institution itself. Palace insiders and royal commentators have noted that as King Charles navigates his recovery from cancer, with treatment reportedly scaled back following positive medical assessments in early 2026, Camilla has naturally assumed a position of significant influence over the daily rhythms of the court. She monitors the king's schedule, filters correspondence, and plays a central role in determining which engagements he takes on and which family conversations reach him directly. This is not a formal constitutional role. It is something more intimate and therefore more consequential. Her private life tells a complementary story. Ray Mill House, her personal estate in Wiltshire acquired in 1996 following her divorce, remains what those close to her describe as her true center of gravity. The 17-acre property is deliberately unglamorous compared to the grand formality of Buckingham Palace and Clarence House. It is a place where she hosts her own children and grandchildren, where the rigid protocols of royal life do not apply, and where she has maintained a sense of self that is entirely independent of her title. In early 2025, King Charles reportedly purchased a neighboring property to ensure her complete privacy there, a gesture that underlines just how important this personal sanctuary is to her well-being and, by extension, to the stability of the king himself. This independence is not incidental to Camilla's power. It is the foundation of it. Unlike many who orbit the monarchy, she does not need the institution to define her. She had a full life, a substantial identity, and her own financial independence before she ever became queen. That psychological security gives her a kind of leverage that younger, more institutionally dependent royals simply cannot match. She is not angling for position out of insecurity. She holds her position from a place of settled confidence, which makes her both formidable and, to some, deeply unsettling. The tensions that have surfaced within the royal family in recent months reflect the complexity of that dynamic. The relationship between Camilla and the Princess of Wales has become one of the more discussed undercurrents of palace life. Kate's return to full royal duties in late 2025, following her own cancer treatment, brought with it a renewed sense of purpose and a clear vision for the future of the institution. By all accounts, the Princess of Wales is focused, disciplined, and deeply attentive to how the monarchy needs to evolve to remain relevant to a younger generation of British citizens. These are admirable qualities. They are also qualities that place her in quiet but significant tension with a woman who has spent 3 decades building an order of things that currently works in her favor. The friction, according to those familiar with palace dynamics, is less personal than it is structural. Camilla's influence is tied entirely to the reign of King Charles. When William eventually ascends the throne, the hierarchy resets. Camilla would find herself navigating a court shaped by a king and queen who have spent years watching her operate as a gatekeeper to the current monarch. That is not a comfortable position to anticipate. It creates a particular urgency in 2026, a quiet but unmistakable energy around legacy, assets, and influence. The decisions being made now, about property, about staff, about institutional direction, carry implications that extend well beyond the present reign. The situation surrounding Royal Lodge is perhaps the most concrete illustration of these competing interests. Prince Andrew's long-anticipated departure from the 30-room Windsor estate has moved from a simmering dispute to an imminent reality. The pressure on Andrew to vacate has been consistent and firm, and the king has shown no indication of softening his position. The eviction is, on its surface, a matter of accountability and institutional standards, but observers note that the future of the property carries significant weight for multiple parties. William and Kate view it as a strategic asset relevant to their own future plans. Meanwhile, speculation has circulated that Camilla has an interest in securing a permanent Windsor base for herself in the event she outlives the king, a precedent that has royal historical roots. Whether or not those rumors reflect reality, they illuminate the degree to which property and physical presence within the royal geography have become proxies for power. Prince Harry's situation adds another dimension to the picture. His ongoing legal proceedings against British newspaper publishers, combined with the persistent emotional and geographical distance from his family, have defined his public presence in early 2026. On January 21st of this year, he appeared at the Royal Courts of Justice in London to give evidence in a privacy case against a major newspaper group, a proceeding that speaks to the years of fractured trust between the Duke of Sussex and the British press establishment. While Harry pursues accountability in the courts, the path toward family reconciliation remains deeply complicated. The sticking point, according to multiple accounts, involves Camilla directly. Harry's memoir published in 2023 made pointed accusations about her conduct and motivations during the years she worked to rehabilitate her own image. Those words did not dissolve with time, and the king, by all accounts a man of deep personal loyalties, who regards Camilla's position as entirely beyond negotiation, has made clear that any meaningful reconciliation must involve a reckoning with those accusations. The invitation reportedly extended for Harry and Meghan to stay at Highgrove during a planned UK visit is being interpreted by many as a symbolic test. Highgrove is Charles's most personal estate. It is thoroughly Camilla's domain. Accepting the invitation would require Harry to exist, at least temporarily, within a space that represents everything his memoir was written against. Whether Harry will accept those terms is genuinely unclear. What is clear is that the initiative, such as it is, now rests with him. The palace has moved forward. The machinery of the monarchy has adapted to his absence in ways that would have seemed impossible 5 years ago. Camilla's silence on the matter, her consistent refusal to respond publicly to Harry's accusations, has been a more effective posture than any counter-narrative could have been. It has allowed her to appear steady, while the controversy around Harry continues to generate its own turbulence. Looking at the fuller picture of Camilla's role in 2026, it becomes evident that she has entered a new phase of her remarkable trajectory. She is reportedly stepping back from the more routine and demanding engagements of royal life, delegating those responsibilities to younger working royals while concentrating her own energy on a smaller number of high-profile commitments. A state visit to the United States is understood to be among the significant engagements planned for later this year. This recalibration is not a retreat. It is a refinement, a a deliberate focusing of effort on the moments that carry the most weight and the longest-lasting impressions. What Camilla has built over 30 years is not simply a position within the royal family. It is an entire framework of survival, adaptation, and quiet authority that the British monarchy has not seen quite like this before. She came into the institution as its most controversial figure and has emerged as one of its most strategically capable operators. The heads turning in 2026 are not turning in judgment, as they once were. They are turning in recognition. Recognition that the woman who was written off, protested against, and publicly vilified has outlasted nearly every one of her critics. She has reshaped the room she was barely allowed to enter. That is not luck. That is not circumstance. That is the result of a woman who understood the rules of an ancient institution better than most people born into it, and who played those rules with a patience and a precision that history will find very difficult to dismiss.